Welcome, yes.
Thank you. My first ever podcast.
I know, this has been a long time coming, guys. I had to kind of beg her to come on, but we're here.
Just a little.
I just feel like you thrive in front of the camera.
That's a compliment that I'll take. Thank you.
Like, I just feel like you're a natural. And I feel like you do a really good job on your stories of having people get to know you, but I want to go like a little bit, like a layer deeper on this.
Yeah.
Right? And like just share more about you and where you came from and how you did this, because I think so many people look at your account and it's such goals and there's such an aspirational energy. But I also think it's important for people to know that like you did this with all your own manpower and like relatively quickly.
Yeah. I kind of hit rock bottom, had nowhere left to go, and I just threw myself into social media when I had like nothing left to give, basically.
It's going to be a very inspiring story. So let's start from the top.
Yeah.
Share a little bit more about where you come from, what your background is in, and sort of like just set the tone for people.
What do you want me to get into specifically?
Like where you grew up. I think you have a very interesting upbringing of, you know, English isn't even your first language. Like there's so much that people probably don't know.
English is my third language. So
third?
Yeah, my third language.
What's second?
Spanish, Farsi.
I didn't realize you spoke Farsi.
Yeah, my father's from Iran.
Wow, okay.
So I grew up in a very unstable environment, I would say. My stepfather worked in the hotel industry, and we moved around sometimes 6 months, sometimes every year. Like stability was not a part of my life growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially what that did is that the moving around constantly made it so I had to develop this personality where I was an open book in order to kind of acclimate.
Connect with people.
Yes. In order to bond, I had to come in very strong, very big personality, almost like entertaining, because everyone loves the funny person. No one likes the new girl, but everyone likes the like funny person. So I really had to constantly enter these new environments where cliques existed and groups and dynamics were already set, and I was always the new person. And in order to kind of break through that barrier, my entire life I had to bring personality.
So that's not like innate to you, or is it a combination?
I would say it's a nature meets nurture, because my mom definitely has this really big, loud Spanish personality that I grew up around. Mm-hmm. But I was kind of in survival mode my whole life growing up. It was either give it all you have and show up big, or kind of be eaten alive, because sixth graders are not very nice.
No. Arguably the meanest.
Yeah. And I had to do that over and over and over and over again. I didn't have consistency or safety in that sense. And it was always shifting and changing and trying something new and having to put my best foot forward. And as an adult, that's made me, like, it's very, I don't want to say it's easy for me to overcome challenges, but
you're resilient.
Yes, you essentially have to become resilient. There's this fight or flight way that you learn to live your life, and you're almost like not attached to anything. And it is a good quality, because the heavy stuff doesn't feel that heavy, because you're just so used to kind of working through turmoil and storms and kind of going. And moving around a lot wasn't just about integrating into new communities. It was also about constantly having to say goodbye to things that you loved. So when you're a child, like your whole world really is your school, your room, your posters, like your little things that you have. Mm-hmm. And constantly having to detach from that was so painful. I remember I was like, I don't know, 9 years old or 10 years old, and I came home from school one day and my house was empty. Empty. Like
nothing. Complete shock. You didn't know.
Yeah, nothing. I came home from school, like threw my backpack on the floor, walked in, nothing. And I ran to my mom, and she was almost embarrassed to look me in the eye, because she knew I was getting to that age where the constant change was, I felt it deeper.
You were aware.
I was aware. And I remember she was almost like too embarrassed to look me in the eye. And I was like, I know what this means. Like, I know what this means. Next day we were gone. There was no, when I was younger, they would let me go to school, and like, they'd be like, we're moving by the end of the week, you know, and I could say goodbye to friends and stuff like that. But eventually that became so heavy that it started becoming, we're leaving tomorrow, and today was the last day of school.
Wow. How do you think that impacts you? Like, obviously, there is the good, which is that you've become very resilient. You're very
Yeah.
adaptable. You can kind of throw you into any situation, and honestly, you thrive.
Yes.
At least from my perspective.
Yeah.
What is like what have the negative implications been of that you've had to kind of work through?
I don't easily attach to anything or anyone. And so the way it's manifested itself in romantic relationships is that I leave everybody very quickly. The moment that I kind of, earlier in my relationships, the moment that I kind of identified, like the moment it dawned on me, identified that the person was not the right person for me, there's nothing left to think about. I mean, nothing. I have such a black and white mentality, like yes and no, right or wrong, like attached or unattached mentality, that I struggled to attach to anything because I wasn't allowed to growing up.
Wow. That's really interesting.
I would say Steven is the first person in my life that I have attached to in a way that feels unconditional.
Have you ever looked into attachment styles?
No.
There's like anxiously attached, there's avoidant attached, and there's secure attachment, which is like the dream. And avoidantly attached, I'm that too. Like, I would rather protectively avoid something, or like just be all out or leave, or just like to take care of me rather than stay in something or have my feelings get hurt, if that makes sense. So it sounds like you're kind of that.
I almost don't ride the emotional wave with the person once I can tell that this is like not the right fit. I've always seen relationships or men as like, there's two men. There's like your husband and a waste of time.
Totally.
I mean, if you're the kind of person who wants to get married, there's your husband and a waste of time. And once you've identified that this is not your husband, then there's just that other guy left. And by the way, like if you want to hang out with the other guy, like party with him, have sex with him, travel, have fun, that's great.
But don't be waiting for him to be your husband.
Don't delude yourself into thinking that that's your husband. There's only two men.
Totally. I mean, I think that your black and white perspective is very refreshing for people, because so many women especially get stuck in the gray area, whether it's career, relationship, and you're very like, it's not that, so keep it moving. And yeah. Anyway, I'm interested to kind of dive into what got you into New York and like set the tone for the next phase.
So, okay, oddly enough, I was in a really long relationship. I lived in Miami, and I was in a relationship with someone who was 10 years older than me. And when you're really young, that power imbalance
Been there.
is such a bad dynamic. He was very successful and much older, and those two things alone like tore through my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And we're together for years, and I realized it was time to leave the relationship because I realized this was not my person, and I ran
To New York.
Yes, I ran to New York. New York is the best city, and all my friends were living here, and I was ready for a change. So I moved here. I was working as a wedding planner. I was a wedding planner for 12 years before I got into content creation. So I was working as a wedding planner, and I did that for years. And I really fell in love with New York the moment I arrived. Not to say it wasn't like full of challenges. Like I was, the broke 25-year-old living with 3 roommates. Like, you remember when we would build a wall?
Oh yeah, I lived in a flex. You kidding me? Of course.
That's so illegal now, by the way.
I know, it's like a huge fire hazard.
I definitely lived in the living room. I lived in the kitchen. Like,
yeah.
I lived inside the stove, whatever it took. Like, I didn't care, and you don't care when you're that age.
Yeah.
So I had the entire 10-year journey where you like really have to like kind of climb up slowly, like a better apartment, a better room. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But I loved New York the moment that I got here. I loved how much peace the city gives you. It's so loud that you're almost allowed your own privacy because everyone is so
That's so
busy
true.
in their own way. Like, everyone is so caught up in their own conversation that they're just not even fucking looking at you.
No one cares.
It's
There's way too much
so-
chaos.
It's such a peaceful city in that way. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's a really good rebrand. It's funny, I was just texting a girlfriend who was just like landing in New York, and she was saying how she was stressed, and I was like, weirdly, I feel like New York is going to recalibrate you. And she was like, I agree.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, my family would completely disagree. I think for the right kind of person that energy meshes with, it's actually weirdly grounding.
I agree entirely.
Because you can kind of disappear in it if you want to, or you can be like very much enthralled in it and like in the energy and the liveliness.
What is that thing that they say that when like in a room full of people, like you're the most lonely when there's so many people. It's like, that's the kind of thing almost in New York. Like there really is so much alone time and space and growth, and it's just a wonderful city to spend your 20s in.
100%.
I loved it.
Okay, so you got here in your 20s. You're living in closets and living rooms and all the places like me.
With my Chanel bag.
Of course.
I was always bougie.
She was always on brand. Just to be clear, to paint
I
the
was
picture.
wearing like Rent the Runway clothing, but I owned my Chanel bag, you know?
She was an owner of Chanel bags.
Yes.
I know just from knowing you personally that you got out of a relationship in like your 30s.
Yes. 33 and single.
So 33 and single. I love speaking to the 30 somethings and beyond, doesn't just stop at 30, that are single and dating and sick and tired of it. So your story is so special, and it was personally really expansive for me because we've been friends for a while, and you were there through my breakup and me being 31 and single, and we'll get to all of that. But first, let's just talk about dating in your 30s and sort of like what your approach to that was, like the good and the bad.
Oh God. Dating in my 30s was kind of a lonely experience because a lot of my friends already had their partners. And I think that a lot of my friends lacked not sympathy, but empathy for the experience of feeling like you're not anchored or tethered to a person. You don't really have a home because you don't really have your person. There's this kind of loneliness, I think, that can happen when your community has built their homes and you are still alone.
Well, you realize that like friends aren't the end all be all in a lot of ways, which feels, I mean, obviously like we have lifelong friendships, but like when people start moving to Greenwich and they have a husband and like all of a sudden you're not the number one priority.
Of course, people
naturally,
evolve. People
of course,
grow and they build their families and they build their worlds, and you know, it kind of starts kind of going like that. So I was in a relationship for years that was someone very serious that I was going to marry.
Yeah. So how did you navigate that? How did you, going through that breakup, I assume you were heartbroken, or were you able to just be like, that was a waste of time, kind of on to the next thing?
I was numb for a whole year. I had like a low level depression where it's like, it's not the kind of depression where you can't get out of bed, but it's the kind of depression where it's like just a little bit hard to wash your hair.
Everything feels effortful.
Yes. Like you're just a little too tired to take the trash downstairs. You just wanted to kind of take a nap. Like the light is really dimmed inside you. You know, I didn't feel like I needed to be on medication. I didn't feel like I needed to, give up. But I felt that I was moving slow and I was hardly kind of like I was still going to brunch and seeing friends and doing things, but like there wasn't deep joy.
One foot in front of the other.
Yes. And that also happened to me during COVID, and my parents got divorced and they both got new partners very quickly. I was furloughed. I left New York. I moved to LA. I broke up with the person I was going to marry.
That's a lot.
My savings were obviously depleted because I moved cities and I was furloughed. So it was 2021 and I was like at the lowest point in my life.
Rock bottom.
And I was, and I don't think that people could see it because I don't look like someone who's hit rock bottom. You know, I had the Chanel bag and I had the nice Instagram photos and I was still going out and socializing, but on the inside I was so numb. I felt I didn't have energy for life.
Like you were dying inside.
Yeah, I read this quote that said, the bravest thing I ever did was move on with my life when I wanted to die and no one knew it. You don't realize, like, the strength that it takes some people, some days, to just get through their day.
Totally.
And I went through a whole year like that, just numb. I wasn't feeling much. I wasn't sad. I wasn't happy. I wasn't really like mourning the loss of the relationship. I just couldn't. I think the light was really kind of shut down. I don't know. Yeah. And I decided to start dating. And
wait, so you were in LA at this point, or you moved back to New York?
So I was in New York all 2020, all through COVID. You were too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I decided to go to LA, right? Like, the one thing that New Yorkers do is romanticize Los Angeles.
So true.
It's like...
we really do.
Yeah.
Until like you've really lived it, and then you're like...
Until you go there and you're like, fuck this place. Like, this place is actually more lonely than New York.
Agree. It's not for everyone.
It's really not for everyone.
I like to pop in and out. It's not for me long term.
I would actually say you are more likely to find your home and your community in New York than you are to find it in LA.
It's too spread out.
It's too spread out, and it feels a little surface of a city, you know? It feels a little bit transactional and one-dimensional, like we're all trying to be famous, and if you're not on that journey, it can, I think, feel hard to belong there. I moved to LA for 6 months.
The whole thing, paid for the move, relocated.
The whole thing. You know how hard it is to reintegrate into Manhattan? I always say this, like, it's not hard being here, it's hard getting here.
So true.
Making the friend group, finding the apartment, paying the deposit, getting the guarantor, buying the furniture. Like, the entry point into Manhattan is a hefty ass bill.
Yes.
It's worth it.
Once you're in, you're in. And it's still expensive, but it's not that, like,
it's
heavy load.
Totally. So I left for 6 months, and I was like, fuck this place.
You romanticized it, you lived it, you're
I was like, how many times can I go to Beverly Hills Hotel for a salad?
No.
What else is there going on in this fucking place?
Totally.
Anyway, I was dating. I was 33 and dating, and
were you on apps? Like, what was your approach?
So I did one app, Raya, but I never talked to anybody. I never went on a dating app date. I never talked to anybody. I never met up with anybody. Like, I felt like I had to be on them because, like, the pressure of everyone was like, why aren't you on the apps? And I was like, I don't know. It just feels transactional. I just don't think my husband's going to be there. But the pressure is like, you know, and then you talk yourself into it. You're like, why aren't I? Like, what's the big deal? I'm scrolling Instagram all day long. Why wouldn't I be scrolling Raya?
Totally.
So I went on it, but as I suspected, there was nothing and no one there for me. So
crickets.
Nothing, literally nothing. I dated a little bit, but I dated with intention.
Yeah.
Again, like, there are 2 men. And so
no more wastes of time at this point.
It was never a waste of time for me. I was never the person who wanted to play in the fun zone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a person who has done drugs. I don't really drink. I never went to Ultra, Coachella, partied. I've never, like, done the yacht thing with guys or the trip thing. Like, I was never the person who played in the fun zone. I've always been the safety kind of person.
Yeah.
So, and I dated in the same way in my 20s and in my 30s with intention because my heart and soul and emotion and body are worth too much to play with.
Absolutely.
And because I never really played in that zone, I don't know how to date without getting attached. I don't have practice in that. And so I know that about myself. And so I wasn't like a risk taker with dating. So I dated a couple people, like great people, but the moment, like, it's always for me like that. It can be like the smallest thing. I remember one time I was dating someone. We went on like 3 or 4 dates, and we went to grab a sandwich after like a show, and I was eating my sandwich, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. When I went to the bathroom and I came back, he had eaten my sandwich.
No.
And in my gut, my husband would give up his food for me.
Correct.
My husband would never eat my things when I turned my back.
No,
the
that's
end.
insane.
The end.
Yeah.
And I remember
black and white. He's out.
So shocked, like someone had thrown cold water on my face, and he was like, "Well, I mean, were you really gonna finish it?" And I was like,
"You didn't know that?
How could you? That is crazy."
Yeah. No, your husband would never eat your sandwich.
Your husband would never. Your husband would never talk down to you. He would never make you feel insecure. He would never put a pit in your fucking gut. Like, your husband would never, ever, 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 ever all these things. And the fact that this guy's doing it, it just means he's the waste of time.
Right into the waste of time bucket.
Period. If you want to play in that zone, good for you, girl. Me, I couldn't have fun in that zone.
So, a very important question that I have to ask you is, we have a mutual love for Jamie, the psychic.
Yes. Come to find out.
Yeah. Small circle. And by the way, I love you guys for asking and your enthusiasm on Jamie. I cannot share her contact. I worry about thousands of people flooding Jamie. She is already very booked up. So Yhasmina does not have her contact. I am gatekeeping her contact. And
I've only talked to her once in my whole life.
I know. By the way,
Years
I got
ago.
addicted. So
yeah, but I didn't know that you were like
I know.
talking to her.
I was talking to her like a therapist.
I talked to her years ago when I was at my lowest point, and I thought she was such a psychopath that I was like, fuck this bitch.
So okay, tell us what she said to you, because it's so good.
So I was dating someone, and it ended, I don't want to say poorly, but it ended with me feeling like, fuck, like, am I going to be single forever? I was at my low point. Yeah. And My friend gave me her contact info. I talked to her, and she goes, "Why is New Jersey important to you?" And I was like,
I love your response.
I was like, I've never been to New Jersey. I've never thought about New Jersey. Like, you're a quack. I just thought you're insane. She goes, "Okay, your husband's from New Jersey." And I was like, "Oh, no, bitch." No, he's not. London? Yes. New York? Sure. New Jersey? Like, I'm confused.
No, it's off-brand for you.
Very off-brand. She goes, "Your husband's from New Jersey, and he is the CEO of his own company, but all the work that he does is out of his cell phone." And I was like, "Hold on, you're telling me that I'm marrying a drug dealer from New Jersey?"
Yeah.
Like, you are so off about this. Like, me, a person with like so much character and integrity, and like things are black and white, and like such a good decision maker, and I invest myself in the right, like, I would never date someone who's a drug dealer from New Jersey. Like, you're
I
so
love
wrong.
that your mind went to drug dealer. Mine didn't even go there.
Who does all their business from their phone?
Correct. Well, now we know.
Realtors. Yeah, now we know.
We're
Realtors.
married to both of them. Okay.
And she goes, I had my laptop and I was taking notes on everything that she was saying just for the sake of it, but
you were checked out.
I was totally checked out. I mean, she could not have been more incorrect, I thought. So she said, "Your husband's from New Jersey. He's the CEO of his own company. He does all his work out of his cell phone. You're going to have a life shift with him in April. You're going to have a life shift with him." This call was in February. Okay.
Okay. So
my call with her was
2 months out.
Yeah. So my call with her was February of 2022. Okay. She says to me, "You're going to have a life shift with this person in April and a life shift in August." I was like, "Okay, I'm taking notes." You know, you talk about a few more things. And before hanging up, she says, "Do you have any questions?" She says, before hanging up, she says, "Do you have any questions for me?" And I said, "Yeah, am I going to have children?" And she goes, "Yeah, of course. You're going to have 2 children. I was like, "Oh, okay." Me not even knowing if I wanted children, by the way. It was more like a curiosity thing.
Yeah, of course.
She goes, "Oh my God, of course you're going to have 2 kids." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "So am I going to get married?" And she says, "Yes, by this time next year, you're in the middle of planning your wedding." And I was like,
God.
"Oh God, this woman is insane."
Off her rocker.
I said to her, "You're telling me I'm going to get engaged in 6 months because within the 6 months I'm in the middle of planning my wedding?" And she goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, thank you."
Like, so sweet talking to you, Jamie.
At least that was only $100. So I had always had a crush on Steven, like a surface kind of. I thought he was so handsome.
From a distance
From
crush.
a distance kind of thing. I'd seen him once or twice, and I always thought, "God, he's so gorgeous." And I remember, like, all my friends kind of knew I had like a little crush on him, that he was like so hot. And it was like beginning of April, I think, and it was like 10 p.m. at night. And my friend texts me. She goes, "Oh my God, you witch." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Steven is single." And I mean, my heart just sank because it was April. And I went, "Where is he from?" And she said, "Let me ask." And she was like at a dinner with people, and they had just said, "Oh, Steven's single, blah, blah, blah."
Where is he from?
And I go, "Where is he from?" She texts back, "New Jersey." And
I can't. And you're like, "That's my husband."
And then the real estate thing made sense to me in my
You're like,
brain.
and he's not a drug dealer.
And I thought, I had forgotten what this woman had said to me, basically, because like I wasn't,
it felt
like,
so untrue you weren't retaining
yes,
it. Yeah.
it felt like such a distant thing that I had crossed her off my mind like a crazy person.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, literally, like I've explained to you, that I have these like light bulb moments. Like in 1 second, I was like, "Holy shit, I've manifested my husband."
Chills.
Literally.
Okay, so you meet Steven. Do you then reach out? I actually don't know this part.
So a long time before this,
Pre-Jamie,
I was at a party and I saw Steven, and I don't know why. I mean, I'd never had a real conversation with this person. I'd only seen him socially once or twice. I don't know why. I like literally beelined towards him. We were at a party with like 300 people. I literally beelined towards him, and I was like, "Hi." He goes, "Hey,
someone
how
like
are
you
you?"
instead.
Yeah. He goes, "Hey, how are you? It's been such a long time." And I was like, "No, I know." And he goes, "What are you doing? What are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm single. I just moved back from LA." And he's like, "Oh, you're single? You should meet my friend."
No.
Yeah. And he literally starts like pulling over his friend. And I literally grab his arm and I go, no, I want to date you.
Oh my God, he probably was in heaven.
And he was so in shock, like truly so in shock. And I think we just had like a little banter back and forth
You had
for
a
a
moment.
second. We just like had a moment. And I didn't want to like stay there and be like, I really want to be with you. I just wanted to like say my thing, like
Plant
drop
it and go.
and leave it.
That's so much hotter. You can't linger
Yeah,
after you say that. It
absolutely.
changes the whole energy.
We can state our intention. We cannot chase. Those
Totally.
are such different things.
Absolutely.
And by the way, like the secret chasing where you're secretly showing up to where they're
The
at.
universe
or you're
knows.
secretly, no. 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 The egg don't swim to the sperm, sis.
So you dropped that.
So I dropped that and I was like, I want to date you. And he was like, wow, you know. I'm like in shock. I don't know what to say kind of thing. And I was like, well, make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked away. And it was just a little while after that I got that text message in the middle of the night from my friend saying, and this is actually funny, from my friend saying that he was single and he was from New Jersey. And I was like, oh my God. So it was the month of April and I posted a story and I looked good in this story, okay?
Listen,
Let's just
it's
say,
not chasing if you do something with intention.
let's just say that I looked good in this story and I knew that he would always look at my stories or he was looking at my stories. I posted the story and he DM'd me. And
The way you manifest everything is insane.
like it click
Yep.
immediately. And he just DM'd me and asked me for my number and he was like, I think it's time that we go on a date. And we started texting and the texting was bad.
Like, in what way?
You know, I genuinely feel like he's so not a player. He's such a like sensitive. I mean, you know, Steven, he's such a sensitive
He's a
soul.
deep feeler.
He
100%.
is, that he really didn't have that like undertone of like a kind of jabbing back and forth kind of thing. He was
But I
very
also
much
love that he was being authentic.
very authentic, very straight to the point, want to take you on a date. And I was like, is he flirting? Is he not?
Is this a friendship?
flirting? Like, does he like me? And so we went on a date and it was a great date. It was a great date. We went on a date, it was great. We went on a second date, it was great. We went on a third date.
Did you leave the first date like, that's my husband?
Yes. But on the third date, he said to me, I've never seen myself getting married or having children. And he was 37, 38. So that obviously spoke
Wait, I'm
volumes.
learning so much. I felt like I knew this whole story. So what did you guys, how did you respond to that?
So it was like 3 a.m. and we were in his apartment. We had gone to we'd gone to Polo Bar for a third day, and then we'd gone to like after speakeasy drinks for this, and then we went to his apartment, like played with his dog, had drinks over, like listening to music. We were having one of these conversations and he goes, I've never seen myself getting married or having children. And I was like this, having a drink, like kind of laying on the couch, and when I tell you that my body rose and my head swiveled.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, are you sure about that? And and I think he clocked what he had said,
Yeah.
that he'd kind of given me like a red flag from me, someone who did want marriage. I think he clocked what he said. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I'm just saying, like, I just, like, at this stage, like, I've never seen it with anyone. I've never felt it with anyone. So I just assumed that was not part of my journey, kind of thing, backtracked. And I said, if you don't want marriage, then you need to be honest with me about that. And so I can make the best decision for myself.
You're either a waste of time or you're the one.
And when I make the best decision for myself, I make the best decision for us. And I think 8 weeks later, he started making my engagement ring.
I am dying.
Yeah.
So he proposed after 6 months.
He proposed
Ish.
at 5-6 months, but he started making my engagement ring at about the 8-week mark.
I fucking love that.
But it takes months to make an engagement ring. Like,
Yeah.
he was like going to Material Good every other week and like choosing stones, and they would bring in more stones and they would set in, blah, blah, blah. And so we got engaged within 5-6 months. And then come February of 2023, I was in the middle of planning my wedding.
Jamie was right.
Yeah.
All hail Jamie.
Yeah. And I think actually the fact that I didn't put so much stock into what she said, I actually think allowed things to play the way that they naturally would have, you know, in like the course of the universe. Because I think that if I had been holding on to that, I would have been like, it's the clock, it's the timeline, it's April, what's he do, what's his job, where's he from? And it would have probably kind of
Meddled.
yes.
It's funny because, as you know, I got a little addicted to Jamie and I definitely meddled. But on the contrary, because she told me, like, Clayton's the one, it gave me a different level of ease. Like, when I would be, like, afraid that, like, he wasn't as into me as I was into him, even though he was giving me no signs of that. It's just, like, my personality to be fearful of that. And I'd be like, I'm going to marry him and it will play out. And I was just, like, cool as a cuke at the surface because I kind of knew that information. By the way, I know this sounds insane to everyone listening, but it's really interesting. Okay, so you guys got engaged and married very quickly.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are curious about that feeling of him being the one and like how you knew in such a short period of time, because everyone asks me that because I was on a very similar trajectory as you.
The way I describe it is like total mental peace. In every relationship I had been with before, even if the person was amazing, there was always a thing.
Yeah.
They drank too much. They wouldn't have sex with me. I didn't like their friends. There was friction with the family. They partied more than I wanted to. Like, socially, we're very different. Like, I recharged my battery kind of being alone. They always wanted to be social. Like, there was always like a thing that I felt like we can overcome with time or with marriage or with
Like
love.
you kind of needed to change something.
Yes. And that is exhausting mentally.
You can't do it.
Being in a relationship where you're always kind of fighting for what it could be is a very depleting place to live.
Yeah.
And with Steven, it was truly complete mental and emotional fulfillment and peace. Like, peace. My relationship from day one has been the least of my problems at all. I mean, I can talk at length about what my relationship feels like now, but safety, emotional, mental safety.
No games, all security, certainty on both sides, by the way.
Yes.
Super mutual. Like, Steven has been obsessed with you from the beginning.
Yes. I really trusted his character, like a strong moral compass, like just mental peace. It's a really nice feeling that honestly is hard to find in a relationship.
What's your advice for the person that might be in like the rock bottom that you were in your 30s pre-Steven? I feel like you give really good advice on your Instagram stories, and I'm ready for you to tell the girls.
I mean, I can say a million things. Need to be more specific, but like the words that you speak become the house that you live in. And if you are living in a glass half empty world or in a comparison world, that is the world you will live in.
On that note, I think of you and also Clayton, weirdly, as like super manifestors.
Yeah.
And especially with Clayton, like his isn't even like with intention. He's like not even like really writing stuff down. He's just like
Same.
creates, and you do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You guys are very similar.
Yeah. Well, Clayton and I are the same person.
I know.
Like truly
Steven
the same
and I are
person.
the same.
And Steven and you are very much aligned. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? So what is your recipe for manifestation success? If you had to like, I know it's not necessarily effortful for you, but if you had to like actually look at it from like a process standpoint.
You have to really genuinely believe the things that you're thinking. Period. You can't kind of act or pretend or emulate or kind of simulate, I guess, the scenarios that you want. Like, you genuinely have to believe that that thing is yours, that is your reality. And I have never doubted that for myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, a lot of people say like fake it till you make it, but you do have to like get to the root cause of like why you're having to fake it to some degree. And I think you've just sort of naturally found yourself there. Like you see something and you're like, that will be mine. And you really genuinely believe it. And like you talk on Instagram about like being Delulu.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of what you're doing day to day without effort.
Yeah. Being delusional in yourself is a fantastic gift you give yourself. Like, really, it's like you said, like I look at something or I see something, it's almost like I have a vision. I'm like, oh yeah, It's in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And it just genuinely happens.
What are some of the other things you've manifested?
I mean,
Even like material things.
I've manifested everything from clothing to husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was just in Paris. Actually, I was just on vacation with my friend, and we wanted something from the Chanel store. Mm-hmm. And so we went to a Chanel store and they didn't have it. And they were like, oh, check, Champs-Élysées. And so we went to the other Chanel store, they didn't have it. We went to the other one, they didn't have it. And I went to my friend, hold on. This is coming to you. Why am I wasting my time going from store to store to store? This is coming to you. And she goes, you're so right. Done.
A whole energy shift.
It's just
arrived.
Period. Mm-hmm. The what is meant for you genuinely cannot miss you.
Absolutely. And that goes into every category.
Truly. And the more that you genuinely believe that in your heart and your soul, like you just know it, mm-hmm. It's unshakable. It's impossible almost that doesn't happen, honestly.
Absolutely. There's an energy to everything.
It's very hard to have faith in yourself and believe in yourself. Like I say this all the time, like it takes so much courage, as sad as that sounds, it takes so much courage to believe in yourself. Do you know what I'm saying?
What do you think has like created that innate confidence and belief in yourself in you? Or has it been effortful?
I mean, I think it was my childhood. I think it was the fact that I had to really show up. And I had to really, I had to be my own best friend my whole life growing mm-hmm. up, because I lacked community, I lacked stability, and so I really had to be there for myself. And so I show up strong, and I show up putting myself first, and I show up wanting and hoping for the best for myself and really envisioning that.
And when you're also like what feels like all you have, sometimes you have to really like yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like you really like yourself.
Totally.
And by the way, same. And I remember growing up and having my parents, my family say to me like, oh, she really loves herself, like as if it was a bad thing as like a child. Mm-hmm. It's actually the best thing on the planet. It doesn't mean you're conceited or self-centered. It's just like, I love myself, and mm-hmm. so do you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing like a mental health crisis in the world. Period.
People do not love themselves.
And we're seeing it when people are younger and younger and younger. And I think one of the best things you can do for your children is build self-esteem in them. Mm-hmm. Build their own self-esteem. When you think highly of yourself, you are likely to put yourself first. You're likely to make decisions that are for your benefit. And so inevitably you start living this life where you are leading with positivity and you're leading with self-esteem.
I'm literally reading a book right now. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's all about how your own self-worth and confidence literally creates your entire reality. Mm-hmm. Because if you're really down on yourself and you feel like you aren't deserving of love or nice things or whatever it may be, like your reality will reflect that.
Mm-hmm. The
so
words
literally
you speak become the house you live in.
It starts with you.
Yeah. And I also, when it comes to relationships, I say this sometimes to people too, like another like great thing that I read is like, when you put someone on a pedestal, it will always feel like they're looking down on you.
So true.
And you've done that to yourself. And so it goes back to this thing of like building self-esteem and really loving yourself, like authentically saying, I am above this situation, this treatment, this relationship, the journey that this person is on. Loving yourself is so powerful.
And also just doing a check-in when you're dating people of being like, is this person on a pedestal for me? Like, I think part of someone being the one is like, you're genuinely, like with Clayton and I've always felt like such an equal. I've always felt like it's such an even playing field. I've always felt like the love is so even. Like one person isn't more obsessed than the other. And like mm-hmm. the no pedestal thing is something I never really thought about, but mm-hmm. it's very real.
Mm-hmm. You do that to yourself.
Yes.
You genuinely do that to yourself in your mind. And like, it's not true. There's no such thing as one person that's better than another person. There are people who are different journeys, but one human is not better than another. Like no girl is better than another girl. No guy is better than a girl. Like that's not a thing.
It's also all perception that we create.
Yeah.
On the manifestation note, I also, you know, as an outsider, before I knew you, like looking at your social media career, you created a new social media presence essentially out of the blue.
Yes. One day to another.
people don't often do that.
Yes.
And I think your story is very inspiring because there's so much noise about how the content creation space is so crowded. And it is. There's a lot of content creators and everyone wants to be someone, and everyone sees it as like an easy way to make money, which it is not necessarily.
No.
Cis works
It
24/7.
havoc on your mental health. No part of that will ever be easy.
No. But speak to the person who is either curious about how you were able to do this at a quote older age than a lot of these younger girls that start accounts. I think it's really inspiring, and people are probably very curious how you did it.
Yeah. I had worked as a wedding planner for 12 years, which essentially is the service industry. And when you work in the service industry, you get burnt out so quickly.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I see it with Steven with real estate. Obviously, I assume you see it with Clayton. Like, it is, you're providing a service and people, So I worked as a wedding planner for 12 years, and I really wanted to work in fashion, and I was in my mid-30s, and it was like, now's the time. So I started looking for jobs and applying for jobs online. As you can imagine, I thought, wow, New York City, it should be easy to find a job in fashion. Also, like, I have great taste. Like, how hard can this be?
Yeah.
Literally.
Bang, bang.
Wow, was I naive? Like, wow, was I like out of touch?
In the best way.
But Delulu, I want to work in fashion. Here we are.
It
looks differently, but here we are.
Yes.
So, spent a couple months looking online, and basically no one would hire me, or the jobs that I was qualified for were very, very like entry level, out of college, like making like $12 an hour, steaming garments, opening boxes, like stuff that I had already done and that I really did not want to do at this age.
Yeah.
And so I kind of hit a little bit of like a rock bottom where I was like, wow, like I questioned my self-worth. Like, why do I think that I deserve to have a job in this world just because I think that I'm talented, that I have a vision? Like, the fuck? You know, like delusional.
You were like questioning the Delulu-ness.
I was questioning what made me feel, what gave me the self-esteem to go after this career that I was not qualified for at all. Question myself.
You were kind of getting in your own way.
Totally. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't I start posting on social media? And I thought, this is what I'll do. I'll start posting my outfits on social media, and someone who works at one of these fashion companies, someone at like a Moda or a Farfetch or a Revolve or something,
hire you.
will recognize my talent and will give me an opportunity. I'm just looking for the right eyeballs on me for that, just to get it.
You wanted like a 9-to-5 in fashion.
Yeah, I wanted a traditional job in fashion. I mean, I thought I was going to be a stylist at Revolve, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, why not?
So you start posting. I remember, because this is when I started finding your content. I remember it was a lot of like photo dumps. You were in Miami. Your outfits were really cool, but you weren't really like it. What it seemed like as an outsider was like you were genuinely just stylish and had cool pieces, and you were just posting them because it was enjoyable. Like, that was the vibe I got.
Lies. Lies. It was very calculated. I mean, you can't be successful on social media like in a lackadaisical way. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
It is a full-time job, and it is actually a 24/7 job. Something that I say to people always who want to get into like fashion content creation, it's like, you can't wait for the beautiful photo at the wedding or at the vineyard or the trip to create content. Like, this is an every single day, all day long commitment.
Yes.
You know, they say it's like the harder I work, the luckier I get. It's that kind of thing. So, okay, so I hit rock bottom. No one was going to hire me. I thought this was my strategy to get noticed. And I said, I'm a Capricorn. And like I said, I'm like a very black and white determined person. I said, this is my job now. Period. I had, I don't know, 3,000 followers maybe. And I said, this is my job. And I was very methodical about it from the very start. I said, I am not going to act like an influencer. I really don't want to do the influencer voice. I don't want to act like an influencer. I'm going to live my genuine life and open up my Instagram to that.
That's where it felt to me like very genuine.
Yes.
Because it was. You just had a plan.
Yes. My plan was to be myself on social media and not pretend to have this grand life. And to this day, my social media is very much me living my normal life, and the camera can come with. I'm not the person, like, I don't work out at Aloe Gym. I don't like get facials every day. I'm not like going on these like opening stores and influencer events. I generally don't do that stuff unless it really speaks to me. Like I still see the same Botox girl I've been seeing for 10 years, the same girl that does my color for 10 years.
You
like,
also do your nails at home.
I
And you
do
make
my
your coffee at home.
nails.
She literally has it here, guys.
True. Like I wasn't looking to like level up my life for the camera. I was genuinely looking to share my life and the things that I like and do. And I feel that I have a lot of knowledge in the beauty space, particularly in the fashion space, and I wanted to share that.
So when did things start to really pick up for you?
Very quickly. I mean, I had 100,000 followers in the first like 10 months that I started. And then by year 2, maybe like a 250,000 or 300, something like that. So it was very fast, and I credit that to the transparency and the authenticity. I think that above everything else in this world, people want to connect. People want to be seen. And if you're presenting this Barbie version of yourself, it can be aspirational, but that's very hard to connect with.
100%. And also with my own social media, I've felt like the more I am authentically me and sharing exactly what I want to share and not like looking at somebody else's content and seeing what they're sharing, we can get inspiration, but we can't emulate somebody else's energy. And whether our followers are attuned to that or not, they are like on a subconscious level. People will feel it.
And by the way, it's like a double-edged sword, because you pay a price for that authenticity and that transparency.
Yeah, you like owe it to people.
You owe it to people, and you say something and you're like, why did I share that? Like,
Totally.
it's like, I'm like, you know, when you go to like a dinner and you say something at the table, and then for 3 days later you're like,
except for it's with like
hundreds
hundreds of
like
thousands
everybody.
of people.
Literally. So you pay such a price. Like, you pay with your mental health.
You do.
It's like when you go home for the holidays and you like stay for too long, and you're like, I can't be here any
fuck
longer.
Out of here, but
like,
you can't check out of this job.
Like, exactly. Like, you pay with your mental health, and people don't see that.
Yes. What are some of the things you do behind the scenes to take care of your mental health? Like, what does that look like? As simple as walking cam to as complex as therapy?
What are some of the things I do to my mental health? I talk to myself.
Oh.
I talk to myself every day, all day. A lot. I've always spoken to myself.
What does that look like?
Stop being a stupid bitch. Like, like, I'm like, stop. I talk to myself from a level of someone with common sense. Me with emotions, the person's talking to me, just common sense.
Yeah. You almost see like the emotional version of you, like the volatile you, as like separate.
Yes. I talk to myself all day long, and I find it very easy to compartmentalize things, and very, again, I think it's part of how I grew up. This like fighter mentality, and having to really be my own best friend, having to be my own best consultant in a way. It manifests itself as an adult with my mental health. I really say to myself, what's the best thing for future Yaz? Today it's, you know, to post this, to wear this, to be with this guy, but tomorrow that's not what's best, and I will always choose the tomorrow version of me. Always.
That's such a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
In terms of like rituals and routines that you do at home, you have like a morning routine or a specific workout, or just like for the people that are curious, what kind of wellness stuff you're up to?
I like to stay in a lot. I like to say no a lot. My mental peace and recharging comes from being at home.
Same. Are you an introvert at heart? Because I don't think of you as that.
No, can you tell me what that looks like?
But like technically an introvert is someone who recharges their batteries alone. But you're also so good at being social and like vibrant. Like, I don't fully have that, I don't think.
I'm waiting for you to diagnose me. I don't know.
I think you're an extroverted introvert. Like, at your core, you need the alone time to recharge, but you also thrive in a social setting if it's the right setting.
Yes.
Not one that you don't want to be at.
Yes.
Not one with a group of people you don't know. When you're with your people, that charges you.
Yeah. I also won't do anything I don't want to do. And my husband, I have an understanding about that. Like, if he has a wedding and I don't want to go to it, I won't go. And he's like, yeah.
No, you're very good at a boundary.
And the other way also, like if I have like a dinner party with friends and he's like, I don't want to go, I'm tired, I'm like, that works for me.
It's not personal.
Yeah, it's not personal. Also, like, it's not heavy. It's
like, why are we making it heavy?
It's not that serious. Like, I think one of those things about growing up feeling like, you know, all the things that I felt is like, I really say to myself, and I think you probably know this from many of our conversations, like, this is not worth getting upset about, so I'm going to choose not to. That's it.
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles, and I really rarely want to battle.
No, it's to be avoided.
It's like, you can get offended so quickly at things. You can get sensitive and upset and kind of think worst case scenarios. And me, I'm very much like, I don't care. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
This has been such a treat. Love hanging out with a sister.
Did I give you any information?
No, you
wanted?
gave me amazing information. I have no sense of time. I think it's been like an hour. It was perfect.
Okay, good.
Love you. Thank you for coming on.
Love you.